Welcome back to the Pop 'em, Don't Watch 'em Whiskey YouTube show. Tonight, part 2 of the 2021 Old Carter release line. We did the review last week, batches 5 and 6 of the American whiskey. I'll leave a link in the description. You want to go back, watch that one first. But tonight, we get into the bourbons. We have batch 8, 9, and 10 we are going to get into tonight. Help you out, make a decision. If you need to make a decision, you can only get one. My goal is to allow you to make the best informed decision for your palate. We're going to go through them, going to describe them the best I can to let you make your own decision. Because just because I like it, you might like another one. Same thing with the American whiskey, 5 and 6. One was dark, rich, sweet. The other one was a lot more spice. Still had that sweetness. You might like the spice. You might like the sweet. That's on you. But my job is to make the best help you make the best informed decision based on what your flavor profile is. And let me just tell you, 8, 9, and 10, totally different. I don't know how they do it. Mr. Mark and Miss Sherry Carter, the blending, as always, incredible. Each bottle, totally different. So, without further ado, let's get into the review. We're going to start with batch 8, a straight bourbon, all MGP. This one comes in at 116.8 proof. This is bottle 1,144 of 1,971. So only 1,971 bottles of batch 8. Distilled in Indiana, says it on the back. So, batch 8 bourbon. Let's get into it. The color on all of them, I mean, just gorgeous copper color on them. Love the legs and the color on that. Let's get into the nose. So right off the bat, it's a complete spice rack, batch 8. You can't even pinpoint one spice because it has them all. It has them all. Clove, pepper, cinnamon, nutmeg. Every spice is coming out in this glass. You get a little bit of apple, a little bit of apricot apple, and you get almost like a crust, like not a burnt crust, but a cooked crust. So you almost get that apple pie with a little bit of caramel on it with those spices. It's dark. You do get a dark syrup, almost like the burnt caramel, dark syrup hint to it. It's also a little floral. Now on all 3 of these, I've got a little floral hint. Man, but that nose, I mean, complete spice rack. It's unbelievable. I can nose this thing all day. With the hints of that fruit pie, the fruit crust. Oh, man. Once again, to Mark and Sherry Carter, no other words left. Amazing job on the 2021 release. And guys, we still have the ryes to come. The ryes have not been put out yet. They're in the middle of mixing those ryes, blending the ryes. The ryes aren't even out yet. So we still have more to come in 2021 from Old Carter. Cheers. So same on the palate. Tons of spice on the front. Clove, like a burnt citrus peel. Black pepper, white pepper, cinnamon, nutmeg. It's all there. If it's on the spice rack, it is in batch 8. My God. So the sweetness comes in, Usually it'll hit you in the front, the middle. The way these hit you is so different. I mean, it seems like everything just comes in at once, but you can still pick it all out. You can still pick the flavors out, even though it's hitting you all at once. Let's get one more sip of batch 8. So, man, that you definitely you can get that apple, but it's turning more citrus on the palate of that crust. And I'm also getting a hint of leather, a nice leather on the back end of batch 8. Oh man, a long finish. It sits, and that leather, as it's finishing, that leather really comes through. But the front end, tons of baking spices, a little bit of sweet apricot, apple, burnt citrus. It's almost like I said, a burnt orange peel, a candied orange peel, maybe a little torch to it. A little bit of I don't want to say it's pie because it's not full pie because it's not that sweet, but you still get a little bit of that crust, a little bit of that breadiness that almost resembles a pie, but not as sweet. Man, batch 8. Wow. All right. Let's move on to batch 9. So batch 9. So this one had over 1,900 bottles in batch 8. Batch 9 only had 1,534 bottles. So a little less yield on batch 9. This one's 116.8. Now, batch 9 of the bourbons, I noticed when you put them together, batch 9, definitely the darkest. The darkest, the most viscous, the thickest. I mean, it's got some legs on it for days. And it is thick, dark, definitely it's not crazy dark, but if you put them together, you could see that little hint to where it's definitely darker than the other batches. Oh. Can't forget batch 9. This thing. So it has a little bit of a cherry cola note. Oh, man. So I have my notes down here because there's so many notes that I was picking up on these bourbons when I was opening them up and getting into them. It changes, but man, the notes, so many notes. Batch 9. Oh my God. Then you get like a dark caramel Cracker Jack on it. An almond. Almost a hint of a wedding cake almond on there, but that Cracker Jack, peanut, almond, caramel popcorn really comes through. It's very dark, it's very savory. You also get a little bit of a saltiness to it, like a salted, I don't want to say salted ham, but it's almost like that glaze that's on the ham, where it still has that saltiness and that sweetness that comes together. But just like the Cracker Jack, you have the Cracker Jacks with the saltiness from the peanuts, and there's a pecan, almond, there's so many different nutty flavors I pick up on this one. On top of that cola note, I mean, that cola note also still comes through. Oh, man, a lot of butter, like almost like a burnt butter. Oh, man, so dark and rich. I mean, this one, nose-wise, the complexity on batch 9, it's out of this world. So, the palate. Right up front, heavy chocolate. Heavy sea salt, chocolate, dark caramel. And then the back end, that Cracker Jack note, the popcorn really comes through in the back end. That savory note. Man, that batch 9, man. If you like dark, savory, chocolate, this is your one. This is your pick. That batch 9. I mean, that, no doubt about it, right up front, that sea salt chocolate, it is. That's all you taste. It feels like you take a piece of that Dove sea salt chocolate with maybe a little bit of caramel in it. Take a bite of that, and then as it goes by, a little bit of spice. This one, now batch 9 does not have a lot of spice. Did not have all the spice that batch 8 had. Batch 9 is a little less spicy. Sweet, dark, savory. Those are the notes you're gonna get on batch 9. Wow. That one, batch 9. Whew. Man, that batch 9's a hitter. All right. Batch 10. Like I said, all of them are different. So the yield on batch 10, 1,969 bottles, 116.8 on batch 10. And these are all distilled in Indiana. Every release from 2021 so far was all distilled in Indiana. So, batch 10. The finish, for all my guys out there, they're big on finishes. Y'all know the finish is good, that's great. I'm not a big, look, if it doesn't have a extra long finish, I'm fine with that. But if you're big on finish, batch 8 has the finish. Batch 9 does not have the finish that batch 8 had. All right, batch 10. Oh, so batch 10 is now bright. Citrus, vanillas, caramels. It has that the creamsicle note with that orange and that orange and vanilla coming together. Oh man. This one's also very floral, batch 10. Yeah, that creamsicle note. Definitely get some cinnamon, some clove on this one. Oh. So batch 10, not as much spice, but it has the spice. Cinnamon, coriander, a little hint of that clove, nutmeg, but it's not as dark. Very bright, little hint of fruit, but tons of citrus, bright orange and citrus with those vanilla notes. Little bit of, you get a little bit of that cake frosting that, I don't know if you ever had a cake, it has that vanilla frosting with the orange flavoring in it. That's almost what you get on this one. Man. So sweet, but yet so spicy. Very bright. Batch 10, these two are more, I want to say on the dark side. Batch 10, very bright. Oh yeah. So it's very dry, not very viscous as these two. Very mouth coating. Batch 10 is not as mouth coating. But yeah, definitely, that's all I'm really pulling out, that citrus, that vanilla, that frosting. It's very sweet but spicy. This one's very balanced in batch 10. So to get into it, because I know everybody wants to know what is the best one. Guys, when it comes to the bourbon, I really don't have a pick. I mean, I do, but it's going to be different for you because these are so different. They're so different. I mean, if I had to pick one for me, batch 9 is really good. Batch 9's just, I mean, if I take out my notes, I'm looking at my notes in batch 9. I mean, you could see, I mean, the notes you can pull out on batch 9 from that savory, the sweet and savory, the chocolate, the Cracker Jacks, the oak, the popcorn, everything on batch 9 is just so, it's so different. It's very different. It's very dark. It's very savory. It's got that sweet and that saltiness. I love batch 9, but batch 8 is not far behind. Batch 8's right there with it. Batch 10 is the one that's not as complex as the other two. It's brighter. It almost drinks sort of like a rye. So I do not know, but my guess would be batch 10 probably has a high rye recipe. It definitely drinks like a high rye bourbon. It's got those citrus notes. It's got those sweet vanilla notes, the caramels. But these two right here, 8 and 9, very complex, very dark. If you get offered one, guys, just buy it. I'm telling you, you don't have to pinpoint one. If you get an opportunity to buy an Old Carter, any product, I don't care if it's one. I don't care if they say you can't pick, you're getting batch 10. Or no, you can't pick, you're getting batch 8. Guys, buy it. Buy it, because you're not going to find another bottle like this. These are so different. These blends are a one of one. That's the best way to put it. This is a one of one blend in these batches. So this batch, not 8. If you get offered a batch 8, you're never going to taste batch 8 again. You get offered a 10, buy it, because you're never going to taste batch 10 again. These blends are one of one bottlings, and some of these, under 2,000 bottles? This one's under 1,500, 1,534 bottles? You get a chance to buy something like that, guys, you have to pull the trigger. Don't ask what the batch is. It doesn't matter. Buy it. Auto buy all Old Carter products. So, like I said, the ryes are coming, I think late May, June. And we're going to be right back here again, reviewing them, giving you all the information we can get you, digging into it, pulling out the notes. But nothing else left to say. If it's Old Carter, pop it. Don't watch it.